she comes. Oh, don't sing copyrighted material. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Seacember here on Psitanium Mine. I'm trying to figure out which one of these songs I actually wanted to do, whether I would do the Hall & Oates or the Nelly Furtado one, because they both had a song called Maneater, and go figure, that's what we're going to be talking about on the show today. Alright, let's get into the checklist. Fishing. That would be hilarious, but there is no fishing aspect to this game. Diving. Yeah, I guess that's a yes, because you're always diving in the game. Sharks. Quite literally, that's the game. It has to do with sharks. Pirates. No, although I do have to say that, like, the guys that you're dealing with that are, like, the shark hunters have kind of a piratey feel, but I don't think I can really qualify them as pirates, so to speak. Sea monsters. Yeah, they're pretty much... Some of these are pretty much sea monsters. The apex predators in the game. Yeah. Grog. No, in fact, it's very hard to stay groggy when you're playing this thing. And scurvy. Man, no, not really. Maneater was 2021's self-proclaimed Shark PG. Having played Maneater, I don't really know if I consider it much of an RPG. I think I consider it more like a sandbox game, but like an underwater sandbox game. The game starts with you playing a little baby bull shark that has been cut out of your mom, who has been killed by a mean shark hunter named Scaly Pete, and thus starts your road to revenge against this dude who had nothing better to do with his time. And don't worry, he and his friends are also coming after you. Meanwhile, there's this notion that you start hearing around about the Mega, an idea of a big, giant shark that surpasses any logical weight and size classes to be a menace of the seas. You kind of know where the story is going at this point. The general idea of Maneater is that you are this shark under the waters of various biomes, and you have to eat a lot and defeat other predatory animals and munch down on delicious, delicious fish. I guess they would kind of consider this an RPG just because you have upgrades. I guess that's it. But, and I guess everything kind of has levels to it. So there's that. But it's not like a role-playing experience where you get to make choices for your character. It really has nothing to do with that. This is mostly just like, hey, do you want to play a shark? And, kill some alligators and whales and other sharks? Would you like to do that? Good news. This is a ridiculous game. I'm not gonna act like this is a serious game. It is not. The first time you do, like, vertical leaps out of the water, or just start, like, jumping around, like, flopping on your belly across land, eating just bystanders that are in your way to keep your life up as you go off to little ponds in the middle of, like, golf courses and stuff. There's nothing about this that can be taken seriously. You know that the tone was not supposed to be serious, because the narrator for this whole excursion is Chris Parnell. And once you start hearing him narrate this, you start to realize, oh, I get the tone of this.
As with many social movements, the annual Driftwood Man Festival purports to foster progressive change, but it's really just an excuse for hippies to flout public nudity laws. The eldritch gods of yore are seldom enthused about being summoned to Port Clovis. Sea sponges' demand for pineapple homes has sparked massive deforestation throughout Costa Rica. But being brainless, Sponges rarely weigh the consequences of their buying decisions.
You start getting some amazing maneuvers that just, like, thrust you right out of the water entirely and start having you jet around the place. Way more cartoonish than anything you would have normally expected from this game. Some of it is funny, some of the jokes are kind of lame, but some of them are so lame it's funny. Kind of hard to explain that aspect of it, but they do a good job of starting you off in some pretty remote areas like the swamps and get you to larger, more expansive areas like the open ocean. And as it expands outward, you also have to deal with more and more dangerous enemies, both above the water and below. The graphics in the game are not necessarily as clear or as rich as you might imagine from, like, other underwater environments if you've seen other games before. Sometimes it looks kind of murky, especially in the background, but it is serviceable for what it's trying to do. I mean, that's kind of the point. It's like, can you actually make the graphics work for the experience that you're trying to get? And overall, I think it does a perfectly fine job. It's like draw distance isn't great for it, but there is at least some, like, personality from the different biomes that they create, and there's some neat ones. Like, there's the water park kind of area. I notoriously have always had a problem with sharks in games. It's one of the reasons why I don't usually like survival games that take place on islands, because usually when they start taking place on oceans, they say, we're going to throw a bunch of sharks in that game. But I did, and I played it on stream, and I kept playing it after stream. And so while I don't like dealing with sharks in a video game, the ability to be the shark is quite entertaining. I don't think I'm alone in this. It actually had very good sales, but being the shark is quite fun. It's fun to be an apex predator, right? I mean, technically, I guess man is an apex predator, but you certainly don't feel that way when you encounter a shark in a video game. Being the actual shark in an underwater game, though, that is a lot of fun. It just kind of never gets old, being able to jump out of the water and, like, chomp down on swimmers, or just, like, people that are at the beach and just nom all over the place. That's pretty great. There's something very satisfying about the fact that your main weapon in this game is really your teeth. This is in many ways a nautical power fantasy, but also they throw in a lot of these really wacky elements to it. Oh, and then there's also the apex predators. These are those sea monsters I was talking to you about. But basically every kind of major predatory animal in this game has an apex version that you will run across, whether it be a great white shark or a, giant sperm whale or an orca. You will run across these apex predators, which are essentially boss battles in the game. Now, the reason why you want to take on the apex predators is that this actually unlocks a lot of those mutations that I was talking about, in addition to, like, taking on bounty hunters when they appear, or, other story missions as things unlock. So you really do have motivation to try and hunt them down. You get them unlocked because of, like, a variety checklist of things to do, population control missions, essentially. So you complete, like, certain laundry list items, and that allows you to get an apex predator listed on the board, and you go there and you chomp them down, and then you unlock new features. If I were to relate this to any game series, I would probably put it more in the GTA camp. It definitely has that sort of feeling of going around a big open world and just doing a bunch of things with the character that you've been given. It's just that instead of a Tommy Vercetti, you are a shark. I wish I had something more exciting to say about Maneater. It's a game where you get to play a shark and you get to chomp people and other aquatic life forms. And there's a whole upgrade system that has some, I guess, light RPG elements with upgrades and mutations that allow you to customize some of your gaming experience, and in general works pretty well and is just meant to be fun. It's not really supposed to be taken seriously. There's nothing about the game that makes me think that it was ever supposed to be, and it ends up being far more enjoyable a game than I would have normally thought, especially because of my general aversion to sharks in video games. This, however, didn't really trigger that. I was more than happy to play a shark chomping down on other sharks. That was cool. That was fun. Well, we faced our fears, our sharks. What's next? Oh. Yeah. Maybe I should throw myself overboard now. No. No, we'll power through.